Coming to you from a cozy little condo high atop Old Fourth Ward, Atlanta. Welcome to The Ron Show on America One Radio. Here's your host, Ron Roberts.
And I know the voice guy said that I'm coming to you from a condo in Atlanta. Not this week. Not the remainder of this week, anyway. I am lakeside in Plum Branch, South Carolina, getting a little rest and relaxation, but still getting this show in for you guys because there's so much going on. In fact, I reached out to my friend Donnell Suggs with the Atlanta Voice because I saw that he's been on the bus. He was on the bus. Anyway, the bus tour making its way through South Georgia yesterday with Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz. Sort of historical. It's been a long time since we've seen a bus tour of this kind in the state of Georgia with Democrats on the bus. Donnell Suggs, thanks for joining me this morning. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, brother. I'm well. Thank you for having me.
So this was sort of a shortened bus tour yesterday because their flights got in, what was it, like early afternoon in Savannah. They did a little pressing of the flesh, a little conversation with Savannah State folks, and then took off for, what was it, Liberty County High School?
Liberty County High School. Met the band and some football players and stuff. It was pretty cool for those kids.
So those kids had no idea who was showing. They just knew somebody was showing up, somebody important, but they weren't told ahead of time.
They told them, get in your uniforms like you would normally do on a Friday, and the band meeting, and band practice is band practice. When it's really hot, they practice inside. But we're gonna have a guest. But I think the kids are smart, and when you start seeing Secret Service all over the place and a lot of security like that, it's not like an alumni.
Yeah.
You know, Liberty County's got a couple guys that played pro ball, but pro football. But it was like, they knew it was a big deal, but they did not know because from the squeals you can tell that some of these young ladies in particular did not know she was going to be there.
Yeah, I was watching some of the video that you had, and you can definitely hear some exasperation amongst those students. And you got to keep in mind, this is Liberty County High School. There are some 17 and 18-year-olds in the room who are voters.
And that was a big deal. That, and they go home and talk to mom and dad. Plus, there's coaches in there, teachers in there, band directors in there, staff. So there's adults in the room, and maybe that makes an impact on a county that it's a Democratic county, actually, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's still good to touch the people, and that's real people. These are regular folks in Liberty County. You know how far that is. There's no big time in Liberty County. I thought that was really cool to get on the ground and speak with regular folks. So
what kind of reaction or what kind of interaction did you see between Governor Tim Walz and you said there were coaches in the room there? I mean, did they stop and talk a little football, a little formation, 4-4
didn't have a lot of time to talk X's and O's, but he did, like you said, press flesh and speak a little bit about his time as a public school teacher, and then as a football coach. And obviously that always gets great reaction from other teachers and regular folks, because all of us, one way or the other, either I've been to a football game in high school, played, whatever, and some of us coach and whatever. So it's like, it's a real regular guy thing, and he's great at doing the regular guy thing. It really works when you see it in person.
So yesterday, how many stops in total did they make on this little caravan? About
3. So they went to a local barbecue place in Savannah, Sandfly Barbecue. I used to work in Savannah, and I never went to Sandfly Barbecue because I didn't. It's really small. I mean, it was to the point where all the press couldn't fit inside.
Yeah,
it's really small. So they did that, and they got a great reaction out of that. Now, mind you, across the street there was a couple people waving Trump flags, which they have the right to do, by the way.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So they was like, it wasn't 100%. Everyone's in love. This is Southeast Georgia.
Right.
This one thing about this. This isn't Atlanta where everybody wants to put on for celebrities. Down there, them folks gonna mind their business and do what they got to do and whatever. So the Trump flags that were being waved at the bus when we drove by, or from people's homes or whatever, there wasn't a million of them, but they were there. I think 4 years ago there would have been more.
Oh yeah.
I think 8 years ago there would have been a whole lot more.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and worry about the Trump enthusiasts showing up with the flag. It is what it is. You're going to have that. I mean, Donald Trump gets dogged by folks who are not in support of him either. So giving that any attention, honestly, is just like, okay, well, that happens. It's politics. Move on.
Right.
So the thing I want to know is, and maybe you can give me a little bit more behind the scenes than I'm percolating in my own mind. We were waiting to find out for days. Okay, so where is she stopping? And they keep a tight lid on this. And I've always felt like Democrats want to keep a tight lid on this sort of stuff when they go into what I call hostile territory, because they don't want the Trump enthusiasts to show up in larger numbers than they do. How secretive were they about where they were going? Did you guys just get on the bus having no idea where you were going?
I'm telling you, they didn't tell us until we stopped. I didn't know we were going to Liberty County High School. I covered high school football for a large part of my career. That would have been really cool. Luckily, you're prepared. Once you get out and you know where you're going, but you get out and you run right into this room. And then next you know, you're surrounded by kids and football players in the band. And you're like, and cheerleaders. You're like, oh. So tight lid, if tight lid means that even we didn't know, and I mean it. I'm not playing facetious here. I did not know. I got on the bus in Savannah, and they could have taken me to hell, and I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
So, whatever. And that's the cool part about it. When you're live blogging, you say, okay, now we're going here.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it in advance. I really couldn't because I didn't know.
And today, similar tight lid. I know you've got some other stuff to do up in Athens, Georgia today, but today's itinerary, is it unknown still?
It is still, other than the fact that they're going to have the rally today in Savannah tonight. It won't be super late. It should start around 5. And Wallace won't be there. He's got another engagement. So this is going to be a VP to the people type of deal. They didn't give us a schedule who's all going to talk, but I know I got a scoop that the Mayor Van Johnson is going to speak. But then again, he's always talking. That's my guy. So
yeah,
we know that for a fact. But no, I have no idea what stops they're going to make this morning. I wish I was able to ride with them, but I've got to be in Athens to talk to a journalism class. So I got to knock that out.
Yeah, Donnell going up to UGA to talk to some future Bulldog journalists. I don't know if I'm like a 30-year J school dropout from UGA. So
I know a bunch of those. They're really good journalists. The funny part is they're really good journalists, though.
Yeah.
I don't think you necessarily need that, but I think you should probably, stay in school, kids.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Don't do what I did. So give me a sense of what it's like to be with media credentials, working on a presidential campaign, literally doing a bus tour. What is that like?
I mean, you get to a designated spot. Usually, a lot of times it's an airport or a military base, somewhere that's secure.
Yeah.
That you can get your stuff checked out. Obviously, I'm not a cameraman. I'm not a TV guy. So other than some notebooks and some pens and pads and a cell phone, easy to check my gear in. But you got to check your gear in. You got to obviously have an ID. You have to be credentialed from get-go. Not credentialed with the Atlanta Voice, but credentialed through the White House and through the campaign.
Okay.
So that was something that anyone that already applied for it would have already known your name should be on the list. With that said, and it's easier for these, believe it or not, it's easier for rallies than it is for these. So for these, you're a little closer. In a rally, you're in a big building that they've already checked 100 million times. For these, you're really close to the vice president. I mean, I was in that band room with her, and I'm maybe 15 feet away. And I rest of the media. So, you got to make sure you're squared away. So it takes a lot to logistically, but then you get there and you meet other members of the media who are going to be on the bus, and you just you work from there. And when we get places, you got to get out and go, because she's not going to stay especially when you're doing these type of quick stops. She's not staying long, and if you really want to get what you want to get, you got to get in position. So it's a little bit of hustling, but I love it because I don't think there's anything else like it. So, especially on during campaign season.
Oh yeah, I mean, and this is such a unique season because we're doing this in less than 3 months essentially. What sort of coordination, or did you notice any sort of coordination going on between Secret Service and like state patrol, local county sheriffs? That's a big topic of conversation now after the Butler, Pennsylvania situation. What sort of coordination did you see between those law enforcement divisions?
You had Savannah Police, regular Savannah Police, and you had Chatham County Police, Sheriff Department. Then you had obviously Secret Service, and you can see them all working together because everyone was with us every stop of the way. The military left us after they dropped us off at the bus. After they drop you off where the bus is, that's it for the military. You're off my base. You're in good hands. They're out of it. You can tell they're annoyed whenever we come to their base because. I know you know this, and you don't have to agree with me, but the media, we're pretentious. We're like, it's hot outside and everything. So these guys are sitting here in all their gear like, who are these people?
Yeah.
So they're going to get us off the base as soon as possible so they get back to their regular, stuff. But, we had plenty of law enforcement that was in sync in getting us from one step to the other. And then Secret Service, they're with you the whole time. When they drop you off at the end of the night, they got to make sure that you get back to square one and then they're out.
But I also have to imagine when you get to a place like Liberty County, where which is not a very heavily populated county, that there has to be some coordination with a law enforcement division that just isn't used to this kind of spectacle.
Yeah, Hinesville PD was on the roads, blocking the roads when we were driving in and driving out. So it was a definite pain in the butt for people who lived there. And we got into, I can't remember what I put on my blog. I think it was like 3:00.
Yeah.
And you get to Hinesville, and normally it's like after school or whatever.
Yeah.
You're some regular Joe Schmo America that you want to get to where you got to go. I got to go to the post office and grab this and get my kids.
Yeah.
And but they also spoke to people before that and let them know this is what's going to happen, or it might happen. I don't think they said the president's coming to school because the kids didn't know.
Yeah.
I doubt any kid would be able to keep order. But you can see it being a pain in the butt for locals because they stopped all these streets along the way, and they couldn't go until we were gone. So that could be a pain in the butt.
My last question to you, and I'll let you get on with your day because I know you got to head up to Athens and do your thing. And so you said you were maybe 15 feet from the vice president, Governor Tim Walz. Was there any tidbits of what their personality is like when the cameras are off and they're not giving stump speeches? What did you spot anything that might be sort of nuggetish about them as people away from the mics?
There was a cool moment, and they're never away from the mics. I gotta be frank, they're really never because until she got on the bus and got in the seat, there's always someone pointing a camera phone at you.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a cool moment when she stopped to talk to the Savannah State students that were waiting for her by the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't hear because it's, first of all, so many of us. The Air Force 2 is super loud. This is on the tarmac.
Yeah.
So it's very loud. You just can't hear.
Yeah.
But the way she kind of gathered them up. Now, Walz, Walz is. He's giving high fives and he's telling these dad jokes. He's great with that. I don't think that's phony. I think that's what he would have done with black students, white students, blue students. I think he's just one of those guys. Hey, what's up? What you doing? Oh, I like that shirt.
Yeah.
He's like that.
Yeah.
And she kind of talked to them. And I couldn't hear what she was saying because I would have liked it. Definitely have heard that. But it was very loud. And obviously the whole point was for her to lean in and not speak to us, but to speak to them. And you can tell from the smiles, especially young ladies, that this is a cool moment for them.
Oh my gosh,
like
yes.
12.
I mean, I was going to say, like when you're talking to HBCU students as the first presidential candidate with an HBCU degree. Oh yeah, and a black woman at that, talking to young black women.
The first black vice president of the United States as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of credentials that come with that, and it's got to be a goosebump moment for those students as well, and for the vice president. I have to think there's got to be some goosebumps moments still.
She seems like she really enjoys doing that. Not to say that white student, black student, blue student, but the whole point is you can tell she was in their shoes, and it wasn't a million years ago. She's only 59.
Yeah,
and you were in those shoes. You are an HBCU student.
Yeah.
At a big school. Well, Savannah State's not a big school, but it's HBCU. Yeah. And somebody came and talked to her, I'm assuming. And you were like, wow, who's this business leader or who's this woman or man? And that was cool for them. That doesn't happen every day. You're not getting that moment. Sitting on a tarmac waiting for her to come see you.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Well, listen, I appreciate you doing your live blogging yesterday. I'll share some of that from your social media in our show notes today at ronshowatl.com. Donnell Suggs was on the bus, y'all, and I appreciate you giving us a little bit of a taste of the first day in South Georgia for Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz in the state of Georgia.
Please come on AtlantaVoice.com. We'll be in Savannah this afternoon. I'll do the same thing. It'll be a lot louder because there'll be a whole bunch of people in that arena. Yeah,
I'm certain of it. All right, dude, go take care of your business, and you're going up to Athens and then back to Savannah today.
I know, yeah, nuts.
All right, man. Well, hey, look, I've been noticing gas is under $3 a gallon when you leave the city of Atlanta.
I got it $2.99 the other day. I was like, oh, this is perfect timing. I need all of it.
And you know what? You know what else we need? We need some of those stickers that the MAGAs had with Joe Biden pointing at the gas pump. I did that. We need some of those.
Break those back out again. Yeah, those are great.
All right, man. I'll let you get on the road. Thanks a lot for your time. Donnell Suggs, Atlanta Voice, joining the Ron Show today. All right, stand by in a few minutes. We actually have some audio from Vice President Harris, Governor Walz, speaking at Liberty County High School. Cannot wait to share that with you. So give me a quick break here. We'll come right back. This is The Ron Show. You're listening on the America One Radio app, AmericaOneRadio.com, Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast. The folks at PBS News, we're live streaming from the Liberty County High School stop with Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I will give you that so you can watch along via YouTube in my show notes at RonShowATL.com. Here is that audio, though.
honored to have you here. Let's go play Glory Tank Fight Club.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to thank our distinguished guests for coming to visit us here at the Liberty County High School. We're honored to have you visit our school. And right now, I'm going to turn it over to, right now, Minnesota Governor, but our future Vice President, Coach Tim Walz.
Thank you for that. To the staff that's here, my previous job to this was, of course, public school teacher and coach, which I wear with pride. To all of you, thank you. Thanks for having us in your school, and thanks to all the teams that are here. You kind of embody this idea, and the Vice President talks a lot about it. Each of our individual talents, what we can contribute, but something bigger than ourselves when you get together. Your single instrument alone is an amazing thing, but as part of this band, it becomes really amazing. And then to see a school community, each and every one of these teams, I said I coach football a lot, but all of this is part of doing something bigger. And I think having us in here, stressing why the Vice President says it often, that education is the key to the middle class, a pathway to the middle class, and it shouldn't burden you with debt to give you an opportunity to get there. So I think when we can get into a public school like this, we're able to see you and tell you. It's not just the teachers here tell you. They know they do this work. It's not a cliche. This is truly about building towards the future, and you're that future. And so we're in a room like this. It lifts everybody's spirits, it lifts the country's spirits. And the Vice President talks about that often, about the positive and the joyful work that we can do and the things that we're trying to make sure happen. So I'm just grateful that you'd have us here. I'm grateful to be part of a team with a really great head coach here in our next President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
I've been hearing about you incredible young leaders for quite some time, from the players to those who are bringing joy to everybody in the stands, to the music that you guys are creating. And so we wanted to come by just to let you know that our country is counting on you, all of you. You are leaders. By the very fact that you all are here in this room, doing what you do at this incredible school, doing it as one big team, understanding all of the different parts that fit together to create a team. You are doing some of the best work any leader can do. And we're so proud of you, and we're counting on you. Your generation, all that you guys stand for, everything you have at stake, is what is going to propel our country into the next era of what we can do and what we can do. And I want to say to you that you must always lead as you have chosen to lead. Understanding you don't have to ask anybody's permission to lead. And I think you all have figured that out. You've decided to be a leader. And in doing that, you are also role models, right? Welcome to the Role Model Club. And being a role model, right, means that they're going to be members of your family, people who live in your neighborhood, your classmates who watch you, to say, oh, that's how it's done. And in that way, you are showing what hard work can achieve, what discipline can achieve, what teamwork can achieve. And that's the stuff of great leadership. All of you. And so we wanted to come by to remind you that our nation is counting on you. We're so proud of you. Everything you have achieved. And I will tell you, I was in band when I was your age. So I know a little bit about, Coach knows about the players, right? And all that you all are doing. It requires a whole lot of rehearsal, a whole lot of practice, long hours, right? Sometimes you hit the note, sometimes you don't, right? But all that practice makes for beautiful music. And that is a metaphor, that is symbolic for everything that you all will do in your lives. Which is you're going to show what a winning team looks like. You're going to show what it means to put yourself out on the field, to put yourself in front of people, to have the confidence to do it. Sometimes you're going to hit the step right. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're going to win the game. Sometimes you may not. But you know, you never let any circumstance knock you down or slow you down. You just keep going at it. That's who you are. And that's why we are so confident in everything that you are doing and will continue to do for our country. So just keep being you and all of the excellence that you're bringing to everything you do. Okay? All right. See you later.
Vice President Kamala Harris, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz at their stop in Liberty County High School, literally in a packed band room with bandmates and cheerleaders and football players. Very cool stuff. The Ron Show on America One Radio, Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast. Back after this.
Call or text The Ron Show anytime at 404-919-2725. The Ron Show on America One Radio.
So as I mentioned yesterday and today, I am actually doing my show while enjoying a few days, just kind of decompressing, unplugging, I guess you would say, at Clarks Hill Lake in Plum Branch, South Carolina. You may even hear in the background, it sounds like somebody's vacuuming something at one of the other RVs near the lake house I'm staying at. I hope that's what they're doing. It could be the waste. I don't think that's the case because I don't think that was the honey truck that I saw come by, anything like that. Anyway, just to give you a sense of what's going on with my morning and why you hear noise in the background. Normally, I'm at my condo and my little studio corner, and today I give you the ambiance of a campground and RV park in Plum Branch, South Carolina. So I apologize for that. I was kind of hoping you were going to get to hear the rippling of water and maybe ducks and geese quacking in the background. No, you get I don't know what that is. I can't really see what they're doing, but it sounds like something suctioning something. I'm hoping it's a vacuum. Nonetheless, I don't smell anything. So, and you're not going to either. What do you care, right? Speaking of something smelling a foul, we all watched a few days ago as Donald Trump tried to commemorate, and I don't really understand how you even use the term commemorate. I say take advantage of, to politicize, the 3-year anniversary of the passing of 13 American soldiers at the Abbey Gate suicide bombing in Afghanistan. And it's crazy to me how breathless folks are at looking to try and pin all of the Afghanistan withdrawal failures on President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Given all that we know, when his own national security advisor, H.R. McMaster, goes on CNN and tells Anderson Cooper, when Anderson Cooper asks, is Trump culpable for some of this? And H.R. McMaster definitely vehemently said, oh, for sure. Do we have that audio?
They're part of the responsibility for what happened.
Oh, yes. I mean, so the whole premise of talking to the Taliban before you leave Afghanistan, why the heck were we even doing that?
You know, he was going to invite them to Camp David.
Right. Even the Obama administration, when they made the mistake of pulling all of our troops out of Iraq in 2010, which really set conditions for the rise of ISIS and so forth by 2014, the Obama administration didn't negotiate with al-Qaeda in Iraq on the way out. And so if we were going to leave, why not just leave? What happened in these series of negotiations and concessions to the Taliban is we kind of threw the Afghans under the bus on the way out.
And they cut the Afghan government out of those negotiations, right?
Absolutely. So that was mistake one. Then forced them to release 5,000 of some of the most heinous people on earth. And then began
the Trump administration
withdraw.
forced the Afghan government to release 5,000 Taliban.
Correct. And then also stop the active targeting of the Taliban, which President Trump, again to his credit in 2017, had restored because he was convinced, like, how the heck does this make any sense? To give your enemy a timeline for your withdrawal and then say, now I'm going to negotiate a favorable settlement? I mean,
that is not a Joe Biden lackey. That is not a Biden administration official. That is former Trump National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster with Anderson Cooper just days ago discussing the Afghanistan withdrawal on the 3-year anniversary of it. Donald Trump decided this would be the opportunity in my re-election campaign to mark the 3-year anniversary of the passing of those 13 troops by visiting the Arlington National Cemetery and laying a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And listen, that's not illegal. There's nothing wrong with someone deciding on any day of any week, of any month, of any year to do that. Arlington National Cemetery allows for that to happen. I believe it's like 4 times a day. Is it 4 times a day? Anyway, there are certain policies and procedures. We relayed that a few days ago. It's that Donald Trump decided to make this a photo op, and definitively a photo op, because we have learned so much about the lead up to that, like his campaign being able to take photographs and video of him doing that. That's not what people go to the cemeteries for, right? To take photos of or videos of themselves laying wreaths at tombs, or doing photo ops with family members of those who passed over tombs. It's such an obvious and transparent photo op. It's so awkward. It's so icky. Anyhow, as we get further and further from that event, we're learning so much more about it, the behind the scenes, the back and forth between the Trump campaign and the Arlington Cemetery staffers. CNN's political correspondent Mark Preston giving us this detail.
On Monday, 13 service members died 3 years ago. Donald Trump appeared at this ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. These service members died during that really chaotic and awful withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now, what happened is that some of his campaign team showed up with cameras, video equipment, and that is not allowed in Arlington National Cemetery. It is part of the rules of decorum in those cemeteries.
Rules and decorum, 2 words that usually don't pair with Donald Trump, who's going to do what Donald Trump wants to do no matter.
There appeared to be some kind of altercation. Now, we're still trying to find out the details of what exactly happened.
My God.
But the Trump campaign is pushing back, saying that it was inappropriate, basically, what the cemetery officials did, John, by preventing them from doing so. And Donald Trump's campaign has also put out a statement from some of the families saying that they had asked Donald Trump to appear at this really solemn moment here that we saw on Monday. So,
which isn't the point. Okay, so you were invited. Great. No big deal. There were already news cameras there because he was there getting video. But the fact remains that Arlington National Cemetery doesn't allow private individuals or political campaigns to go in and shoot their own photo and video, and that's where they ran afoul of things.
A lot is still kind of in the gray area right now, and we're still waiting to hear more from Arlington National Cemetery. They said a report was filed, but still, it just goes to show you that we really can't escape this presidential campaign, John, no matter where we go.
And that's no one's fault but the Trump campaign and Donald Trump himself deciding to seize the opportunity, literally seeing the 3-year anniversary of folks who served in our U.S. military dying in service. To me, there's just nothing more disgusting about it. It really, to me, sort of personifies exactly what's wrong with the draped in the flag political faux patriotism that, I mean, listen, I've always believed that there's a little bit of that faux patriotism in the first place. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I dismiss everyone on the whole who talks about supporting the troops. I came up in a military family in the shadow of a military base myself. I fully understand the passion and enthusiasm and support that exists, that courses through the veins of most Americans, left, middle, right. But we've seen this from Donald Trump, literally grasping onto a flag on a pole on the stage to hug it. This event on Monday, just repugnant. The more you learn about it, how about the fact that the Arlington Cemetery staff member who got in the altercation apparently with the Trump campaign folks is a woman? And all the Trump campaign people can do is sort of spin this as if this is a media problem. I want you to listen to the KTLA TV5 reporting from Los Angeles. This is how this all plays out in the media. And of course, this is the media's fault for making this an issue to begin with and not Donald Trump showing up at the solemn occasion. I know he was invited. I get it. But how about trying not to make this a spectacle beyond just a solemn commemoration? That could have been done just fine. There would have been a footnote in the press. Oh, Donald Trump appeared with families of some of the fallen victims. That's a solemn occasion. No big deal, right? But that's the problem. He wanted to make it a big deal. Well, it's a bigger deal than he wanted to make it.
Meantime, a controversy is growing tonight for former President Trump surrounding his visit to Arlington National Cemetery on Monday.
Trump attended a ceremony to mark the 3rd anniversary of the bombing in Afghanistan that killed 13 U.S. service members, and at issue whether Trump's campaign violated federal law by filming in a restricted area. There are also reports campaign staff members got into a physical altercation with a cemetery official when she tried to stop them from filming in a hallowed burial site.
KTLA's John Finolio is here now with details. John.
Micah Scher, former President Trump has repeatedly criticized President Biden's decision to withdraw from Afghanistan. And he has seized on the deaths of U.S. service members during the chaotic pullout to slam the administration's leadership.
I like that term. Yes, that's exactly what he's done. He's seized on their deaths. That's exactly how it should be put. That's exactly what he's doing. He is using the commemoration of those deaths for political purposes. It's disgusting.
But tonight, it is Trump who is facing criticism for what appears to be a photo op on hallowed ground.
Deservedly, and it was.
How we doing? Republican vice presidential candidate Ohio Senator J.D. Vance in Battleground, Pennsylvania, defending the Trump campaign following reports of an altercation at Arlington National Cemetery Monday.
It is amazing to me that you have apparently somebody at Arlington Cemetery, some staff member, had a little disagreement with somebody. And the media has turned this into a national news story.
This is video former President Trump posted to TikTok.
Well, there it is.
We didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then they took over that disaster.
It shows him in the cemetery's highly restricted area known as Section 60, which is dedicated to fallen service members from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Trump can be heard comparing his record to the Biden administration as he lays a wreath and poses for photos. NPR first to report that a cemetery official tried to prevent Trump campaign staffers from filming and photographing in the restricted area, which set off a confrontation in which 2 Trump staffers verbally abused and pushed the official aside.
Wow.
Federal law prohibits election-related activities, including photography and videography within Army National Military cemeteries. Vance insisting Team Trump was given permission to photograph the hallowed ground.
Sure.
Trump campaign spokesperson Stephen Chung releasing a statement saying, in part, an unnamed individual clearly suffering from a mental health episode decided to physically block members of President Trump's team during a very solemn ceremony.
My God.
The GOP nominee was visiting the cemetery on the 3-year anniversary of a bombing at the Kabul, Afghanistan airport, which killed 13 Marines, following President Biden's decision to withdraw the U.S. military from the war-torn country.
What we call the Kobayashi Maru in Star Trek circles. It was a no-win scenario in that a negotiated withdrawal had been negotiated by the prior administration on a tighter timeline, by the way. President Joe Biden had to ask for an extension, was granted, asked for a second extension by then the Taliban's in control of Afghanistan, and they're like, no, get the hell out. And that, of course, hastened by the release of 5,000 Talibani prisoners, which we discussed before, was negotiated under Donald Trump, which caused for the Afghanistan government. We spent 2 decades and lost, 2,400 American men and women's lives to put together and prop up for 2 decades, and never mind the trillions of dollars spent.
Trump posting on his social media site a photo showing support from the Marine veterans and their families who invited him to the event.
3 years ago, 13 brave, innocent Americans died. And they died because Kamala Harris refused to do her job, and there hasn't been a single investigation or a single firing. And she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up. She can go to hell.
Oh, my God, dude. First of all, did J.D. Vance become suddenly unaware that there were 45 military casualties just in Afghanistan under Donald Trump's watch? How many of those deaths did Donald Trump commemorate?
This photo op drawing widespread condemnation from across the political spectrum. The nonpartisan organization Veterans for Responsible Leadership posting on X, Trump not only violated the sanctity of Arlington, but he violated the official cemetery conduct.
Bingo.
The Trump campaign has denied there was any physical altercation. The cemetery released a statement confirming that an incident occurred and a report was filed, but did not provide additional information.
And then you have this reporting from the New York Times today, Chris Cameron, Maggie Haberman, and Eric Schmidt reporting at the New York Times that the family of a Green Beret who died by suicide after serving 8 combat tours and is buried at Arlington National Cemetery expressed concern Wednesday that Donald J. Trump's campaign had filmed his gravesite without permission as Trump stood in an area where campaign photography isn't allowed. Relatives of Master Sergeant Andrew Marxano issued their statement 2 days after Trump's visit, which also included a confrontation between members of the Trump campaign and an Arlington employee. The former president's campaign took video in a heavily restricted section of the cemetery known as Section 60, which is largely reserved for the fallen veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan wars. A woman who works at the cemetery filed an incident report with the military authorities over the altercation, but the official, who has not been identified, later declined to press charges. I mean, you can't do that. You'll get blowback from MAGA, right? Military officials also said she feared Mr. Trump supporters pursuing retaliation. Well, I predicted that line before I read it. Sergeant Markison died in July 2020 after moving to Washington to begin a job at the Pentagon. He had 3 children, and friends said he had chronic post-traumatic stress disorder from his time in combat. He earned Silver and Bronze Stars during his service. His gravesite is adjacent to that of Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover, a Marine who was killed in the 2021 bombing at Abbey Gate outside the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. The report continues from the New York Times. The Hoover family granted permission to the Trump team to film and take photographs at the gravesite. The Marxano family did not, and filming and photographing, at the gravesite for political purposes is a violation of federal law, according to cemetery officials. Yet, Sergeant Marxano's grave was shown in photos from the visit that were published online. A video was posted to Mr. Trump's TikTok account featuring footage from the Section 60 visit and the gravestones from behind, with narration criticizing the handling of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. In a statement from Sergeant Marxano's relatives after being contacted by the New York Times, his sister Michelle said, "We fully support Staff Sergeant Darren Hoover's family and the other families in their quest for answers and accountability regarding the Afghanistan withdrawal and the tragedy at Abbey Gate. However," she added, "according to our conversation with Arlington National Cemetery, the Trump campaign staffers did not adhere to the rules that were set in place for this visit to Staff Sergeant Hoover's gravesite in Section 60, which lays directly next to my brother's grave." Sergeant Marxano's sister continued, "We hoped that those visiting this sacred site understand that these were real people who sacrificed for our freedom and that they are honored and respected accordingly." Now get this statement from the Trump campaign. Again, Stephen Chung didn't address the statement from the Marxano family, saying when asked about the TikTok video only that, quote, "The campaign will continue to respect the wishes of the Gold Star family members who invited President Trump. Not the ones who didn't, just the ones who did." Hearing only what they want to hear and adhering to only what they wish to. The Ron Show back after this on America One Radio, Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast. Final few minutes on the Ron Show, and let's go hyper-local here. State of Georgia. If you're listening nationally on America One Radio or Progressive Voices via TuneIn, I mean, you want to know what's happening in Georgia politics, too, because Georgia apparently stirs the drink here lately, right? Well, we have our first gubernatorial candidate for the 2026 election cycle from the Democratic Party. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Olu Brown.
Hello, my name is Olu Brown. I'm running for governor for the state of Georgia in 2026. I believe it's time for a new face, a new voice, and a new generation of leadership who listens to Georgians. I need your help, and I need your support. Over the next few months, I'm hosting listening tours in person and virtually throughout our state. I'm asking that you will respond to these 3 questions. What do you love about Georgia? What are your concerns about Georgia? And what would you change in Georgia? I look forward to meeting you in person or virtually on these listening tours. To answer these 3 questions and to show your support, go to listeningtogeorgians.org. I look forward to meeting you on the listening tour. Thank you.
So while I'm happy to answer those 3 questions, I think I have questions first. We don't know much about Olu Brown right now, so there are a lot of questions. But we do know that according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, he is the founder and former lead pastor of Impact United Methodist Church in East Point. We know that he's a motivational coach and consultant. Reading through his own website, you can go to olubrown.com, learn about him. He is a husband and father. He has a lifetime teaching certificate for grades 1 through 8 from the state of Texas. Has written several books, numerous articles. Says here has helped uplift and guide people, communities, and organizations, and currently coaches, consults, and facilitates full-time through the company Culver House LLC, helping leaders and organizations normalize next. Whatever that means. Normalize next. Oh, that's his concept about how to best prepare for the future, especially faith communities that experience any kind of change or transition. Okay. I've reached out to Olu. I'd love to have him on the show. He is, again, the first to throw his hat in the ring for the 2026 gubernatorial race on the Democratic side. And not only is it going to be a formidable situation if he were to become the Democratic nominee, he's probably going to be facing off with some deeper-pocketed and bigger-named individuals. And do we even know if Stacey Abrams wants to make a third go of this? I don't want to crap on that idea. I do, however, have to point out that her first run in 2018 narrowly lost. And I know there are those that want to question whether or not she actually lost. I mean, when the Secretary of State at the time is overseeing the election and you're running against the Secretary of State for that election, and we've seen the sort of oddities and quirks that happen at the precinct, county, and state level that tend to not go investigated unless the Republican loses, and then we want to investigate. Anyway, she narrowly lost in 2018. She lost by a wider margin in 2022, and in my opinion, the campaign made several mistakes. To me, one of the more notable is that she tended to campaign only in safe blue spots with, acolytes surrounding her instead of doing what the Harris-Walz campaign is doing yesterday and today and leaving those safe blue spots to go rally votes in red areas of the state because they count too. This isn't an electoral college situation in the state of Georgia when running for governor. Every vote gets to count. Anyway, if Stacey's going to run, Stacey's going to run. If not, again, I believe that there will be some big names for the first candidate to throw his hat in the ring for the Democratic nomination, Olu Brown, to face off with. We'll keep an eye on that. Again, I've reached out to him, invited him to come on the show to introduce himself to the audience and the audience at large outside the state of Georgia as well. So that's just a little footnote there. The 2026 gubernatorial campaign has begun, my friends. Have we learned nothing? You don't need to get into the race until about, 90 days, 100 days, and then you get all the fervor and the fanfare. Wait, huh? Oh, that's not how it works when filing for governor. Okay, all right, fine. So be it. It's an idea. Okay, listen. I got about 45 seconds left to go, and I'm just going to kind of back away from the mic and enjoy the rest of my lake vacation today. I will be back tomorrow. Again, another check-in, but I've got a full day of doing absolutely nothing here along Clarks Hill Lake, and I'm going to get to it. I will, however, point out I did have sellers. I'm a real estate agent in Atlanta. I did have sellers go under contract on their house yesterday. So I worked all day yesterday on my first day of vacation here at Clarks Hill Lake. Hopefully today won't be so workmanlike. Back tomorrow 9 to 10 a.m., replay 5 to 6 p.m. on the American One Radio app, AmericanOneRadio.com. We also air 7 to 8 p.m. on Progressive Voices via TuneIn. And if you listen via podcast, you can listen whenever you want once I post it. Show notes at RonShowATL.com. You guys have a great day.